Best way to get hired as a cloud engineer is by building cloud projects. Now, what are the best cloud projects to build? This is a question that I get asked all of the time, and one that I'm going to answer in this video. Now, most beginners just build random cloud projects that have no relevancy to what they are learning. The method that you want to use to build cloud projects and get hired as a cloud engineer is called the CloudMac model. Now, I know what you're thinking. What on earth is the CloudMac model? Don't worry, I'm going to explain this in a second. The truth is that passing a cloud certification is not going to get you hired. In fact, cloud certifications are pointless if you have no practical hands-on experience, because being a cloud engineer is all about building projects for clients. To get hired, you have to follow the CloudMac model. Now, I've been working in the cloud for the past 7 years, and I work for myself as a freelance cloud engineer, and I hold the Solution Architect Associate and the Solution Architect Professional AWS certifications. And I can tell you with ease that these certifications did not help me secure jobs. It's actually my practical and project experience that took me further to get multiple job offers. Therefore, I always suggest not wasting your time passing foundational certifications that give you no hands-on experience. And as a beginner looking to break into the cloud, you have to focus on building cloud projects. Now, I'm going to share the best cloud projects to get hired for cloud engineers, but before I do that, you should check out my weekly cloud newsletter, where I share free resources, tutorials, bootcamps, and so much more to help you make your cloud move. So what is the CloudMac model? This model is the way to actually build projects and get hired. Not only am I going to tell you what this model is, but I'm also going to give you the 7 best cloud projects to build as a cloud engineer to get hired. And trust me, once these interviewers see the projects that you've built, they will hire you in no time. Now, being a cloud engineer means that you work across the board and you mix and match different skills together, from cloud architecture, CI/CD, infrastructure as code, server management, networking, security, and more. You are the jack of all trades, and you can do it all. It's obviously going to take time for you to be able to do all of this, but you need to start somewhere. Therefore, you have to build a portfolio of projects that are more than just beginner friendly and expose you to these different cloud concepts and tooling. So take that into account, and here are the projects that you should build. Now, the CloudMac model is focused on building cloud projects. You want to think and design how you can use different cloud services together to build solutions. This is what you would do within your cloud engineer job, working with customers. When you are starting out, focus on the breadth of services to build projects so you can get exposed to as many cloud services as possible and then be able to connect them together. The CloudMac model is all about putting into practice the theory that you are learning. Don't just watch tutorials. Start right away using what you've learned and apply them to projects. And just for simplicity, as I have an AWS background, I'm going to focus these cloud projects onto AWS, but they are applicable for all cloud platforms. Some of these projects are advanced, and I don't expect you to be able to complete them, but you just have to try and see how far you can go to building more complex projects, because you will learn a lot more doing the hard things than the other advice out there on YouTube, which is to host a static website using the console. That's something you will never do as a cloud engineer working in an actual job. One of the best projects to always start with is an architecture-focused project. Architecture is simply the most important part of any project. It's the floor plan of the solution that you're building. It breaks down the different components and layers of the problem that you're solving using cloud services. A great cloud architecture project to work on is designing a highly available and scalable architecture that can host a web application like a React app. You also want to add a database layer that your React app interacts with. Firstly, you want to research into what makes a cloud architecture highly available and scalable, and then you want to apply those concepts into your architecture. The best part of cloud architecture is there's no one-size-fits-all solution. You can design an architecture for a web application in so many ways using lots of different AWS services. For example, you first need to think about the networking layer. and then your application layer, and then your database layer. I also recommend documenting every single project that you're working on and using it to showcase all future employers. And there are so many design tools that you can use to build this cloud architecture. I use ExaliDraw, and it's my go-to for any cloud design work. The next cloud project that you should build to get hired as a cloud engineer is getting started and building with infrastructure as code tools like Terraform. This is because for all upcoming projects I'm going to share, you do not want to click and create the cloud services on the cloud console. Everything you build needs to be via code, and Terraform is the most popular infrastructure as code tool out there. This will help you prepare for your actual job and develop your hands-on cloud engineering skills. With infrastructure as code, you can repeatedly and reliably deploy entire infrastructures without manual errors. For beginners, this consistency is invaluable, ensuring that you can recreate environments for testing and learning without any discrepancies. One of Terraform's standout features is its ability to work across various cloud platforms, AWS, GCP, and Azure. For beginners, this means that they can learn one tool but apply their knowledge across multiple cloud environments, making them more versatile as cloud engineers. Although I recommend picking AWS Cloud and building infrastructure with Terraform onto there. Cloud infrastructure is complex, and there are hundreds of services available, but having a structured, code-driven approach to provisioning and managing infrastructure is a game changer. And I recommend first learning Terraform syntax and then looking at how to use it and apply it with AWS, and making use of the most common AWS services like VPC, S3, EC2, and IAM. Now, if you want to get started with the cloud and become a cloud engineer, then you should check out my Cloud Engineer Handbook, where I'll provide you with a structured way of learning, projects to build, and guiding you to go from zero to Cloud Engineer Hero, covering the fundamentals, tools, technologies to learn and become a cloud engineer through texts, diagrams, and short videos. Right now, it's at a 50% discount for pre-order, so move fast before the actual launch price. I'll drop the link in the video description below. The next cloud project that you should build to get hired as a cloud engineer is creating a networking layer using Terraform. Networking is the backbone of any cloud infrastructure. By setting up a VPC, subnets, and routing, you're essentially building the foundational layer upon which all the other cloud services operate on. And demonstrating a solid understanding of these fundamentals is vital for any cloud engineering role. Using Terraform to script and manage your networking layer reinforces the principles of infrastructure as code. This shows employers that not only do you understand cloud networking, but you also know how to manage it as code, which is a well-needed skill in the modern cloud engineering world. The networking layer will be part of your cloud architecture in Project One. Therefore, you can then go ahead and build it with using infrastructure as code. For example, for this project, you want to build a VPC, create availability zones, define 3 subnets in each availability zone, update the route tables to allow communication between the subnets, and finally, when you deploy your EC2 or your Beanstalk service, you can also update the security groups for those instances. Now, by defining 3 subnets in each availability zone, you're essentially setting up the structure that supports high availability and fault tolerance. This reflects your understanding of designing robust and resilient cloud infrastructures. Now, the next cloud project that you should build to get hired as a cloud engineer is deploying a web application. And you can do this using the AWS Elastic Beanstalk service, which automates the process of deploying, scaling, and managing web applications and services. Whilst Elastic Beanstalk abstracts a lot of the underlying infrastructure, you still get exposed to various AWS services like EC2, RDS, S3, and CloudWatch under the hood, giving you a real taste of the AWS ecosystem. You can create a simple React app boilerplate and deploy it onto Beanstalk. Don't forget to create the Beanstalk service with Terraform and not using the AWS console. This project is a nice intro into hosting applications on AWS, and it's one of the ways that you can do this. The next cloud project that you should build to get hired as a cloud engineer is containerizing building an application. Containerization has become one of the most core ways to ensure consistent environments from development to production. By packaging your application and its dependencies into a container, you're essentially creating a portable unit that you can run reliably across multiple computing environments. Now, the good thing is you can just containerize your React app using Docker and just deploy it onto AWS. Containerization carries many principles of cloud engineering values: efficiency, consistency, repeatability, and scalability. As cloud platforms continue to evolve, it's clear that containers will be a big part of how applications are developed, deployed, and managed in the cloud. Therefore, working with containers is key as a cloud engineer, and this is a slightly advanced project, but don't worry. When you're getting started as a beginner, you want to get familiar with as much as possible and practice your hands-on cloud skills. Now, the next cloud project that you should build is a big part of a cloud engineer role, and that is building a CI/CD pipeline. Now, there are many CI/CD pipeline tools that you can use, such as Jenkins, GitLab, GitHub Actions, and I'm most familiar with GitHub Actions and AWS Code Pipeline. For this project, you want to create a continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline that automates the build, the test, and the deployment process for your application using GitHub Actions and AWS Code Pipeline. Again, you can just use your React app and build a CI/CD pipeline to deploy it onto your Beanstalk service in AWS. CI/CD is crucial for software development teams, allowing them to automate, test, and deploy, and resulting in quicker and more reliable releases. Learning how to set up CI/CD pipeline with AWS and GitHub Actions is highly valuable for cloud engineers working in cloud and software environments. The next cloud project to get hired as a cloud engineer is a text-to-speech converter using AWS Lambda and AWS Poly. A powerful text-to-speech conversion service, this project allows you to create an application that can transform written text into natural-sounding spoken audio in multiple languages and voices. Developing a text-to-speech converter is not only valuable as a skill, but also a feature in high demand for modern applications and websites. Learning the capabilities of AWS Lambda and AWS Poly provides you with hands-on experience using AI-powered services for practical applications. Lambda is also super popular, and I think the future of cloud or web applications. AWS Lambda is also one of the most common services, and a service that I see being used in almost every single project that I've worked with, and it's super cool and a serverless AWS service, and one that you should definitely get familiar with. The next cloud project to get hired as a cloud engineer is a cloud-based chatbot. A chatbot is an AI software that can stimulate a conversation with users in a natural language, just like how we are speaking right now. By using AWS Lex, you'll be creating a chatbot that can recognize the intent of the user's input and respond appropriately. AWS Lex actually provides a deep learning functionality of automatic speech recognition for converting speech to text. Now, once you've created your chatbot, you can actually integrate this into a website, mobile app, or other platforms using the AWS CDK. Now, creating a chatbot introduces you to the concepts of AI and ML, especially in the realm of natural language processing. For a cloud engineer, understanding how these services work is crucial as AI and ML is rapidly growing in the cloud. Remember, this will be a difficult project, but even attempting this is a credit to you, and you should document how you've done it. Also, don't get discouraged if you can't finish it. You want to throw yourself in the deep end and see how far you can go building cloud projects. Now, those were the 7 cloud projects to get you hired as a cloud engineer. Drop a comment below which project that you're doing first. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.